Guys, we did it again. We had a very interesting opener, but there it is. I'm gonna nail it one of these days, but today is not that day. Thank you for watching episode 6 of Press Pause. I'm Jeff. Let's get into it. We're gonna talk about, as usual, all things video game, or at least all things that caught my attention from the last week. Shall we? Yes, we shall. As you can see over here, I've got oh wait, over here I've got Xdefiant up. I did get into the beta eventually on Xbox. Was able to put about an hour or so in. I'm optimistic. I think there's definitely issues with it right now as far as like on the technical side. There seem to be some like desync issues where you'd be taking a corner and shots were still going, both in my favor and against me, right? So it's not just like a thing. And, you know, I put the footage up. You can see I'm a pretty average player. I'm not a real killer or anything, but, you know, I really enjoy playing first-person shooters. My buddies and I like to always have a game for the weekend to jump on. I'm hoping this can be one of those games. It does look interesting. It plays a lot like old school Call of Duty, or at least old school to me. So like the original Modern Warfare's, Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2, that kind of feel. I don't know. I like it. It's interesting. It's from an Ubisoft team. They're using a bunch of Tom Clancy IP. So like all the factions are like the cleaners from The Division. You've got you know, like Splinter Cell and Far Cry and some others kind of in there. It's interesting. They all kind of have abilities, almost like a character shooter, like a hero shooter, I guess you might call it, where each faction, they have their own kind of special abilities. The two that stuck out to me that seemed a little bit OP are the one I'm running here right now, where it's what do you call it? It's you can go invisible. It's got like a cloaking device for a second. That's pretty sick. The other one that's on the Far Cry faction is healing over time. And yeah, what? Like, it's pretty OP right now. Maybe that'll work. They need to tone it way down. It's way too much heals, and you can see like the character will go orange instead of red when they're healing. And it's like, it almost reminds me of fighting somebody in the dark zone who has a way better build than you, like back in the early days when you'd be in, like, especially Division 2, where all of a sudden you're fighting some guy and like the armor is just not coming, like your armor is like just getting deleted, like, but their armor is just not coming off. You feel like you're shooting, your gun is suddenly loaded with Tic Tacs. That's a little bit what it feels like, obviously scrunched down into a very small TTK. But yeah, it's interesting. But I think there's a lot of potential with this game. It's going to be free to play. That's a big leg up for it. It's from several former Call of Duty devs. Ubisoft drops games though often, right? Like Hyperscape got dropped. You know, they've closed down the Knockout City dodgeball game. That's my fear, is that if this thing doesn't really hit and really pop off, they're not gonna put in the diligence to sort of like compete, right? Obviously, when it plays like Call of Duty, like an arena shooter like that, I guess not an arena shooter. It's not like Quake like or Doom like or anything. But when it plays like Call of Duty, that's obviously who they want to compete with, right? But my fear is Ubisoft going to put in the resources necessary? Are they going to make it stick around? We'll have to see. Like I said, they drop games quite often. And I think if you're going to go up against Call of Duty and sort of steal mindshare from an IP like that, you've got to be willing just to sit in the trenches for a few years. Free-to-play is a great first step, but most of their free-to-play games are the ones that get yanked. So we'll see. But I do think it's going to be important for them to really stick it out, depending on if it hits or not, right? We're seeing a lot of creators go off on it because they've got codes and, you know, they need audience and they want clicks. Does that translate into an actual audience where people are going to stick around and play this? We're going to find out. Hopefully they've got a good roadmap for it. They're launching with 14 maps, which I think is pretty cool. that's what you need, right? Like it's not a light offering. It looks like they've really put some work into this. Obviously, when this got announced, there was a lot of backlash. I feel like Ubisoft was kind of in like a weird point where they really couldn't announce a win. Like right after this one got announced, they announced that like Ghost Recon Battle Royale that got laughed out of existence. Like it just got booed. It just got booed back until it ran backstage and like, oh man. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, I hope this thing kind of takes off, because I know a game that probably isn't going to take off now, and that's Redfall. And I hate to be like a hater. I was really hoping Redfall was going to be interesting. So I'm always looking for a 4-player game that's on Xbox, because, you know, I've said before, I'm not like a huge fan of like any one platform, or like, oh, I'm a fan of, you know, Xbox or Nintendo or whatever. I'm a fan of games. But the squad I play with on the weekends, everyone has like different levels of interest in like the gaming industry, and we all have Xboxes. So like that's the product we play on, right? We all have Xboxes, so that's what we play on. So I am lashed to this raft, like I'm 1,000 miles from shore. And so I'm always looking for a 4-player game that's going to take off and kind of catch our attention. And like Warzone 2 really hasn't done it. They've made a lot of changes there where I think you can tell like the players are not really happy with Warzone 2. It doesn't seem to be doing the numbers that Warzone 1 did. It definitely doesn't seem to have the mind share online, and maybe that's just a product of me being like very much online, but I do think that's not where they want it to be. It's not hitting as hard, especially, and just not for our group either, right? Like just, we used to play, like that used to be like the game that like you had to convince someone to play something else because that's what we were going to play. And now it's not even suggested as much anymore. And I do think part of that is the new map's fine. It's Noverdansk, and the Resurgence map they brought in, Ashika Island. I don't know, man. Like that Resurgence, like Alcatraz model island, it's really hard to beat. I wish it was still available, because that was our jam. That was our jam. But yeah, Warzone's not hitting right. Halo's Halo. It's like dead and dying. It's lingering. I don't know, man. I don't know how that game comes back. I think this last season was a really good step towards it. Very interesting, but like, I don't know. You need more. You need something like, I don't know. It just needs to be a lot. There needs to just be a lot of Halo news until people are like overwhelmed with it a little bit and like they start to dig it. Why is this turning off? What do we got going on here? Huh. All right, we're back on. But where was I? Oh yeah, Halo. Halo's meh. They're not doing enough. All right, and now there's like Frank O'Connor is probably leaving Halo, which whatever. But it's just more people like fleeing a sinking ship, it seems. I don't know what's going on with that. Very sad. That was like the Xbox IP since OG Xbox. Like that's the thing that got, well, Fable is the game that first got me like interested in wanting to have an Xbox. But Halo's definitely where I ended up putting most of my hours. So you know what I mean? Like I got it because I read about Fable in some magazine, and I was convinced it was like, I think we all were, right? It's like this is gonna be this mind-blowing game, and it wasn't everything they promised, but I think it was a really solid, cool RPG. I really liked it. But Halo 2, I think, was Halo 2 was the first one I heard about, right? I wasn't really paying attention back then, and missed the boat on Halo 1, actually, even though it was like the launch game. I didn't check it out really. And then a buddy was like, dude, Halo 2's coming soon. You got to play this. And they lent me a copy of Halo 1, and I played the multiplayer like locally with my brother for like a little bit, and then immediately Halo 2, and that's what we jumped into. And I have so much love for Halo, and it sucks to see where it's at, and that it's not, you know, especially with it being on Xbox and PC, you'd think it could be a true competitor and have a bigger place. And it just kind of sucks because, you know, I don't know. It could have been Xbox's Mario, and instead it's going to fade away. I think it's a bummer. I really do. Then beyond that, you know, we've got, what other big shooters are there that, I don't know, man. You know how I know it's a problem? My squad is asking me to jump back into Fortnite. That's what people are bringing up. Well, let's play some Fortnite. I don't want to go back to Fortnite. It's a fine game, but I don't want to go back. I'm tired. I'm tired of Fortnite, and I'm going to have to start playing it because there's no good shooters coming out, because Redfall is going to be 30 FPS, and my squad was already on the fence about it. Now it's 30 FPS. And look, if you're an RPG or a single player game, you know, I'm thinking of something like Plague Tale. I can understand. I can stomach it. I don't mind. I'm not someone who minds playing like all game. I can't play any game if it's not, 60 FPS or above. No, I can play 30 FPS games. I can't play a 30 FPS competitive shooter. That's, I don't know. And I guess it's not competitive. It's co-op. Oh, you know what? As I say that, now I'm like almost rethinking it. Am I being too hard on Redfall? Because my first instinct was like a first-person shooter sub 60 FPS. That just sounds terrible. And we've had 60 FPS in competitive games for so long. But Redfall's not competitive. It's co-op. And I don't know. That I just mid-thought. My mind is a little bit murkier now. I don't know. It could work as 30 FPS. It could. I'm wondering, I think it being untethered co-op, I think that's kind of the same thing that happened to Gotham Knight, right? Like they had untethered co-op, but they also were only able to do 30 FPS on consoles. That's a game I skipped. It didn't appeal to me, but I'm wondering if that's a similar issue they're having. I mean, I'm not a dev. There's no way to know what reason they can't put it out yet. It seems like they just need more time. They've announced, hey, there will be a 60 FPS option. We don't have it yet. We're launching the game. We don't have it. And that's kind of a bummer, especially because this is Xbox's like first big launch, really, of like a next gen only exclusive. It's not cross-generational, but it is from a Bethesda studio. It's not from an in-house Xbox studio, because I mean, a game from an in-house Xbox studio, what is it, 2030? But yeah, I am hoping for a shooter to be good, and I'm really hoping Xdefiant can maybe be something that holds our attention for a while. Who knows? But yeah, otherwise I'm gonna be stuck playing Fortnite again. Because that's the problem with multiplayer games, and I think one of the reasons people wonder, like, why is Call of Duty so popular, or why does certain, or Fortnite, or things like Rocket League, that's another big one with us. People wonder, like, why do these games have so much mind share? Why do they hold people? And I think part of it is, with these multiplayer games, if you play with a squad, you need everybody excited to play the game, everybody willing to play the game. That is tough to get across games, right? Like, we got a squad of 4. Sea of Thieves, well, 3 of us are down, 1's not. Okay, moving on. Deep Rock Galactic, 2 are in, 2 are on the fence, right? Like, okay, moving on. There's all these games like Division, 3 are down, 1's kind of over it, right? And I feel like that's got to be how it is for most people. Getting 4 people to all want to play the same game, that's tough. And so when you get a game like Call of Duty, like Fortnite, that kind of hits that note, people latch onto it because they, you can build your team around it. People are interested. Like when a new Call of Duty game comes out, my whole friend list, not even guys I play with regularly, but everybody is on that, right? And so I don't know. I think that's the uphill battle a lot of these games have, is when you're multiplayer, and especially live service, you don't have to convince one person to be into it. You have to convince kind of a group, usually in a lot of cases. You're convincing like squads and people who play together, and a lot of people want to play with their friends. I mean, that's one of the joys of online multiplayer. And so I think that's one of the difficulties devs face with this kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm kind of rambling here. That kind of derailed my thought. I don't know why I hadn't thought of it before. I was thinking about Redfall, and it's like I was putting it up against, in my mind, much more competitive games. Single player, I don't know. I'm trying to think. I never, even then, I always choose a performance mode. It's just a bummer there's not going to be a performance mode. And there will be. That's the thing. Like I said, there will be, just not yet. So kind of a bummer there. But yeah, from Ubisoft, let's see what happens. Speaking of that, they are doing, Ubisoft is doing this Ubisoft Plus multi-access has finally come to Xbox. This was like a PC subscription they had. It's all the Ubisoft games in a pass. It's basically Ubisoft Game Pass, but Ubisoft only. And it's $17.99, which is more than Game Pass. Now, there's probably a couple reasons it's more. Ubisoft probably has to pay a cut to Microsoft, right? Like it's Microsoft's platform, so they're probably paying some sort of cut. I doubt it's like I'd be surprised if it was a 30% split on that, but it's probably a decent cut that Microsoft gets for everything on the platform. So that's interesting. That's going to always obviously bring up their price against the platform's own subservice. And then on top of that, they don't need user acquisition in the same way that Xbox does. So I think Xbox prices Game Pass at a certain very competitive pricing in order to get you into the store. Because once you're in Xbox, you're gonna buy DLC, you're gonna buy other games that aren't on Game Pass, you're gonna, maybe buy a movie or something, or rent a show. You're gonna spend money in other places on the Xbox while you're there. So like that also, Game Pass in some ways is the just the appetizer, right? But with Ubisoft Plus, this is what they're getting from you. They don't control the store that you're shopping on, so they can really only get money if you're buying specific DLC for those games, which I don't think is the same share as like Xbox getting a cut of Elden Ring when a Game Pass subscriber buys Elden Ring full price. So that's going to keep these sort of services expensive. I do think in the future, as more people move away from console, and I think we're going to see gaming more prevalent on like a screen agnostic systems, right? Just cloud streaming to TVs. We're going to see it on phones. PC obviously will continue to be like the enthusiast level. I think you're gonna start to see prices sort of all equal out as nobody has control over the stores the way the console platforms currently do. But yeah, this is interesting. I think if they stick it out and start pulling in some people, I don't know, because like, who is the market here? Because the other thing is, it's Ubisoft Plus multi-access. You're not paying just for Xbox access. The PC access is tied in. But what's that market? Who has a PC that they would game like AAA level kind of quality games on, but then also is waiting to sub until it came to Xbox? I don't know. That's an interesting market where they've tied those together and they're not letting them be separate. But I don't know. They got to do themselves. Suicide Squad has been delayed this week, almost a year. It was supposed to come out into May, and now it's coming out like February 2nd, 2024. Oh man! And they played this video. It was at the end of the PlayStation State of Play. They had the marketing on this, and they showed it off as like the big game at the end, and it got like booed, man. Like people were up in arms about this game, and it kind of, they thought it just looked like another sort of looter shooter, live service type, gear score, very much a lot of like Destiny DNA. People aren't feeling it right now, especially after we just saw a whole bunch of live services go down. Now, I do think that's going to be cyclical, right? When you have so much big money going into these live service games, people are going to throw hello. All right, and we're back. Jeez. Sorry about that. That's 2 weeks in a row now. I don't know what's going on with this mic. I got to say, Blue Yeti is like the worst mic. I hate it so much. This thing sucks. Man. Okay, we're back. I can't touch it. If I touch this mic in the wrong way, it'll go have a hissy fit in the corner. It is pretty frustrating. I'll have to clip that out later. Yeah, so these live service games, right? Like they're going to throw whatever sticks at the wall, and what sticks, right? And they're going to continue to do that. When these things, when they hit, they make so much money. Of course, they're going to throw some games out. They're not going to hit. They're going to cancel them, right? But like, you throw out 10 games and 2 stick, like all the dev cost is worth it, right? Because you're going to have years of potentially turning over billions, right? That's why they do that kind of stuff. But this game, coming from Rocksteady, I think that's not what people wanted from Rocksteady, right? Rocksteady's seen as like a, at least at the time, when you look at like the Batman trilogy, the Arkham games, premier single player games, and that's what people expected. And 8 years later, they're like, oh, here's a live service game, much like the Gotham Knights game that came out that was super mid, but this is with characters you're even possibly less familiar with. Because I mean, I know there's Suicide Squad movies, but come on, it's not the superheroes. The superheroes are the villains in this. Very clever, but all the people are using guns. It's a superhero story where everyone uses guns. Very Marvel's Avengers vibes. Remember that Square Enix joint from Crystal D? That didn't work out too well. And I'm like, I kind of think that's what they're looking at here. Like, oh no, people aren't going to like this. So they're delaying it almost a year. I don't know what that's going to do. Like, I don't know how you rework a game that much where you take that out. Maybe they're just polishing it, and they're just maybe hoping people forget about the backlash. Maybe they're going to like try to like walk back the marketing and just kind of surprise drop it and hope. Or maybe there's some sort of Suicide Squad like movie or some shit coming. They can, tie them together and just hope they get people. But yeah, man, I don't know. Yeah, and then Hidetaka Miyazaki, one of the top 100 most influential people according to Time. Pretty cool, honestly, to see. Man, we're having a lot of technical issues tonight. Pretty cool, honestly, to see somebody in the gaming industry get recognized like this. He obviously is the leader behind FromSoft, bringing us like the Dark Souls games and Elden Ring. Neil Druckmann of Naughty Dog wrote up a pretty cool piece. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I guess it's very interesting, you know, just kind of him talking about his experience and respect for what FromSoft has done, and Miyazaki in particular. And so I just, like I said, I just think it's really cool to see game designers and like creatives getting recognized by like kind of the wider pop culture world, or like the wider, you know, like just to see society kind of saying, hey, like this guy's pretty influential, it's a big deal, you know, getting his flowers, right? Like I think that's awesome to see. Even though video games is like the biggest industry in entertainment, you know, bigger than movies, music, all that, it doesn't always seem to penetrate the zeitgeist in the same way, as far as like respect for the devs and the artists and the creators behind this stuff. So like that's really cool to see. Definitely deserved. So yeah, just thought that was kind of a neat, like small piece of news. Also kind of a small piece of news I want to touch on. Remedy had upgraded their logo, which is not really news, except they do mention down in here, they say, where is it? Oh yeah, right at the end. You can look forward to Alan Wake 2 later this year, which hopefully, because this just came out, like that's, you know, there hasn't been a lot of marketing since the Game Awards reveal in 21. I believe it was 20. Yeah. So it's been over a year now since we've heard anything. There hasn't been a ton on it. So hopefully that means the marketing campaign begins soon, because I'm very, 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 very excited to play Alan Wake 2. I love the original Alan Wake, loved American Nightmare, enjoyed Control quite a bit, so super excited to see where they go with it. Sam Lake did call Alan Wake 2 the studio's first true survival horror, and as a certified big baby, I took that personally. I take great offense, because like I thought Alan Wake was creepy enough, but all right, we'll go with it. So yeah, I'm excited for that, and I saw that like, okay, they haven't really done marketing, they haven't talked about it. I was a little bit worried maybe it's getting pushed back, but it seems like they're still pretty confident in a 2023 release. So yay, another giant game on the horizon, because 2023 is the year of giant games on the horizon. Speaking of, we're cutting over to, oh, you knew I had to bring it up. Oh yes, we are cutting over to this little gem. I'm probably not going to play the whole thing here. You should go watch it. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom final trailer before its May 12th release. Oh man, I was hyped for this game in the way of like, I really, really enjoyed Breath of the Wild, and so yeah, I'm going to play the sequel. I'm excited, but I don't know, I wasn't like hyped. I was just like, yeah, it's going to be a great game. I'm excited for it. But like, even seeing like when they did the breakdown a little while ago on like the Ultra Hand and all that, like how you could build and like, how you could like scale mountains from the inside, like from a cave, go up to the top, all that. It was like, okay, that's cool. But this trailer, it's like a 3.5-4 minute trailer. This got me so hyped. You got to hear it with sound. I'm not going to play that here because I know how, not only YouTube but Nintendo is about their music and their copyright. So I just want to play a little bit of this footage. But man, you gotta check this thing out. This game looks so sweet. I haven't been playing on my Switch much. Just frankly, like it's the oldest of all the platforms I have. I just think I've been more in a holding pattern, almost waiting for Switch 2. Ever since Octopath really tilted it for me. I was like, I'm gonna get Octopath 2 on Switch. This is where I played the first one. But I don't know, I did the demo on Switch and PlayStation, and got it on PS5. Just 60 FPS, like it just looked better. Just seemed like it was running smoother, and it just felt like, man, if I'm gonna pay full price for a game, that's where I want it, in that quality. But obviously with Zelda, there is no option. It is Nintendo Switch or bust. So I will be Nintendo switching it up on May 12th. Everything else, but that's another strike on Redfall, by the way. 10 days before Zelda? You sure about that? You sure about that? I mean, dude, you're gonna have like 9 days of news, 8 days of news maybe, and then it's gonna be 2 days of like, oh, here comes Tears of the Kingdom, and then it's done. Anybody releasing in the like the first couple weeks after Zelda, good luck. Like, good luck if you're in that 30-day period around them. I don't know, man. This game's gonna be huge. I think it's just gonna take over the zeitgeist. Even just being on Nintendo, this is gonna be driving a ton of traffic. I mean, so I don't know. But yeah, I'm pretty stoked for this. It looks very cool. No joke, man. This looks awesome. So I'm pretty excited there. And then this is kind of an interesting game. The trailer came out a few days ago, and they showed it before at an Xbox event. But I just wanted to touch on it because this is coming in April. It's going to be on Game Pass, and I just really dig the art style here. I mean, this is Ravenlock. It's kind of like seems like a little hack and slash, but with this really cool, sort of like 3D pixel art. They had done that game Echo Generation that was also on Game Pass. It was turn-based. I gave it a shot. It didn't grab me. I kind of bounced off it fairly quickly, just like an hour or so in, a couple hours in. That's the thing about Game Pass though, right? Like, because you have the subscription fee, the buy-in is so low that like if a game doesn't hook me right away, I don't always give it a chance the same way I would if I spent $70. I want to try and get my money's worth maybe. You might be willing. You just have a higher expectation, right? And so you're like waiting for it to hit. But with these, you don't always have that expectation with Game Pass. But this game really caught my eye. I think their presentation of the art has matured. The gameplay choices look interesting. Really, all around, I think this is a pretty beautiful looking game. So yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes, what they do with it, how it ends up. But this will be something I'll be checking out in April, almost certainly, for sure. And then last but not least, I wanted to touch on, oh no, not last but not least. We got 2 more game trailers coming at you, baby. All right. So hang on to your britches, because what we got coming up here is, Immortals of Aveum. This game looks bonkers. There'd been this trailer a while back that just showed like the first person view, and somebody steps out with their hands and you see them kind of like do a spell in the air and there's like a battle going, but it didn't show much. This is like, hey, it's coming out soon, because this comes out in July, I believe. I could be wrong. Let me check that. I gotta be careful here. Yeah, July 20th. This is coming out. And this, we're going to jump ahead because I don't know if you guys know this about me, anyone watching this. I get a little bit annoyed with these, it's all straight cinematics for the first like minute and a half. All right, so we're just jumping to, I believe, like now we're about to finally see some game. Look at this. It's a wizard first-person shooter, and this is from former Call of Duty developer, I believe. He started this studio, Ascendant. He's worked on, you can go back and look. I mean, this guy worked on like the original Dead Space and some others. Had worked on, I think, Infinite Warfare, I want to say. But I guess was working on some Call of Duty and got this idea, and kind of years later founded a studio and ran with it. And so the idea is like, what if you essentially made a first-person shooter, but instead of like helicopters and dragons and, guns, you had magic spells or helicopters. Instead of helicopters, you had dragons. Instead of guns, you had magic spells. Instead of a tank, you had a monster. Like, look at this thing. It looks very cool. I'm interested to see, like, I don't know, because if you watch, it doesn't seem like they just did the boring thing of like, you're just pew, 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 like with lasers out of your hands, like where it's basically just you have laser guns. It looks like there's some actual spells that allow you to sort of move around the battlefield a little bit differently, do defense a little bit, they kind of lean into the magic, where I think it looks pretty interesting. So yeah, I think that's going to be an awesome one. All right. And then finally, like I said, we're going to get to the PlayStation State of Play here. And I'm just going to let this play in the background because it is long. They go into like basically like a 30-40 minute video on Final Fantasy 16. Oh yeah. Let's jump a little bit ahead so we can get some of this sweet footage. I'm not a Final Fantasy guy. I think I've played 7 and 10, and I didn't finish either one of them. Yeah, I don't know. I got to 7 late. I didn't have a PlayStation when Final Fantasy 7 was like sweeping the nation in the late 90s. My cousins did. I heard all about it from them, watched them play a little bit, but I actually got to it later in life. And it didn't hold my attention. There were other games coming out at the time, and it was a little bit dated, and yeah. And then 10, I rented from Blockbuster, and like I had to take it back. But this one, honestly, it looks almost like a little bit undeniable. They're going into action RPG territory. They got the combat designer from Devil May Cry 5 working on this bad boy. Very medieval. Man, there's been this spate of, over the last few years, I feel like very heavy, like George R.R. Martin almost influence on a lot of JRPGs that we're seeing coming out of Japan. And I don't know if like, I mean, obviously in some cases like Elden Ring, it's like very on the nose where, they talked about kind of really enjoying the book, getting George to help kind of come up with some of the like lore and character stuff, some of the kind of base designs that they've then fleshed out. But I think about things like this, Dealfield Chronicles, Triangle Strategy. It just kind of has this vibe of like very much being about like ethical dilemmas in sort of a darker, more gritty like fantasy telling. I don't know. I just something I've kind of noticed. I feel like with a lot of these games that I feel like didn't used to be there in the same. Not that the stories didn't have like darkness to them or an edge, but they didn't have the same. It's just like the tone. It's like the flavor. There just seems to be like kind of a Martin-esque flavor coming out of a lot of these games, and I dig it. I do. I like it. I like what I'm seeing here. The combat looks incredible. The world looks beautiful. This looks very next gen. It's PS5 exclusive for at least 6 months, though. A few months ago, I believe they were talking PC port no time soon. The exclusivity is only for 6 months, but they said they haven't even started even thinking about a PC port. It's going to take way more than 6 months to port it, was the statement. And so it's going to be longer than 6 months before you see that. I'm assuming if that's pushed back, who knows if you'll ever even see an Xbox port. Like we still haven't seen Final Fantasy 7 Remake on Xbox, or honestly, like 95% of Square Enix games just don't come to Xbox for whatever reason, right? I think that's a little, obviously they've got some sort of deal with Sony and Nintendo for exclusives, and they're not getting that same sort of deal from Xbox. But disappointing to see it's not coming to PC, because little personal gaming news, I actually finally got a PC this last week. I'd been using a gaming laptop that I got during the plague. I picked up a gaming laptop, and it served me pretty well. It's just kind of a budget Acer Nitro. I added some extra like RAM to it, extra SSD, and was able to like play some pretty cool games. But obviously in the last like year or so, I just haven't been able to really touch like AAA games or anything kind of cool on it. So I wanted to upgrade it. Finally got a desktop PC. Nothing like I didn't go top of the line or anything. I'm a baller on a budget, but we went 3070 5600X, so should be able to do some, play most modern games at like 1440p. And that, oh man, let me just get into that. I've talked enough about Final Fantasy. If anybody watches this and they know a thing or two about PC gaming, I've got a 1080p monitor and I've got a 4K monitor. Now I got a 3070. So I feel like I can't really take advantage of the 4K, right? Because I'm going to lose so many frames. Like I just can't do it. Right? And then 1080p, the computer's overkill. It's blowing right through that. 1440p seems like the sweet spot, but do I want a third monitor? Do I reply? It's a whole thing. I'd love to hear from anybody who's watching this who knows, is a 1440p monitor worth it? Or should I just stick to 1080p for those games? Yeah, so that's that. But been doing a little PC gaming. That's kind of why my gaming has been all over the place. Like we had the Xdefiant beta I wasn't expecting, so I jumped in on that. Then I got the PC. So then of course I was like a squirrel running from like tree to tree, just like because I'm like, oh, I got to try this. I got to try that. I want to see how this game runs. I want to see how this game runs. I want to do this. I want to mess with this. So I didn't even go over what I've been playing really, besides Xdefiant, but like I jumped into Evil West off Steam. I was doing a little bit of Everspace 2, which is on Game Pass on PC. So now I've got like a whole bunch of games I've like started or playing older games I kind of re-downloaded to see what the upgrade looked like. You know, trying out like things like Control and etc. Sifu, things like that. But now I've got to go back. I need to finish off Dredge. I'm almost done with that. And I need to probably burst through Everspace 2 and Evil West because I enjoyed the start of both of those games quite a bit. Played them for longer than I meant to because I was like, oh man, I'm actually like really liking these. Everspace 2, really cool game. That might be gameplay footage up here soon. Reminded me a little bit of like Chorus, but more polished. I don't know if anyone played Chorus. I don't even know if more polished is the right word. It just, the story felt a little more like I was a little more grabbed, a little more engaged, but I don't know. Chorus was actually, I think, a pretty underrated game. But yeah, really digging Everspace 2. And then Evil West, I kind of had held off because the reviews were kind of mixed and I wasn't sure. But $30 on a Steam sale, or 32 on the last spring Steam sale. So I picked it up knowing the PC was coming in soon and wanted to try something out, enjoying it. But that's the game I've really been messing around with, like resolutions and trying to dial in a sweet spot there. But yeah, so Final Fantasy still going because this is like the longest video. But man, this looks great. I mean, it really does look like a solid action RPG, right? And I think that, you know, you've seen there's been some maybe people aren't as excited from like the diehard Final Fantasy community as it's not going to be turn-based. But I don't know, man. This game just looks wow. I'm ready for it. This will be going on my PS5. And honestly, I was thinking I was going to wait on this game. Like I was thinking like, oh, I've got Tears of the Kingdom coming. You know, and then in the back half of the year in September, it's going to be Starfield. There's going to be freaking Spider-Man. It's a lot. Am I still going to be, if I'm still playing Zelda over the summer, how am I going to have time for this? Now I feel like I got to rush through Zelda to try to get to this bad boy. That's tough. Because I was expecting to like really just like mainline Zelda for a while. But I mean, with Breath of the Wild, I beat it in 2 chunks, or like 3. It was like 3 different runs. That's the thing about these long games sometimes for me. My attention, some games will hold me. Some games suck me in. Like Red Dead Redemption 2, I didn't play anything but that game. Well, no, I'd get on multiplayer. But I mean, just when I'm talking about games I'm playing, just know I'm always also playing like Halo, Rocket League, Call of Duty sometimes. But there's always like a weekend game night kind of game that just, you know. But I'm so like out there today. Red Dead Redemption 2, I mainlined it, right? But something like Breath of the Wild, which I loved, would rate, I think, just as highly. I played it in bursts because it was much more freeform, right? Red Dead, the narrative really drives you. You really are like, I want to finish. I want to do this story. You really feel like you're in. I feel like Red Dead really gives you the vibe of like you're like an actor in like an HBO level, like prestige drama. And so very sucked into the narrative, really wanted to finish. Breath of the Wild, much more open and about exploration, and you know, like the story is there but like very bare bones and very like you're piecing it together. It's very like kind of opaque, I guess would be the word, right? Like it's not, you know, you're just sort of like seeing like old memories and kind of slowly opening things up, lots of side content. It's really just about the, you know, puzzles and exploration and combat and just the world. So that meant I played it like I could put it down, I could pour hours into it, and there really was no true stopping point, but there was also nothing like propelling me forward other than the pure enjoyment. Like sometimes like with a game, like narrative is sort of the thing that like glues you to your seat and pushes you forward. Whereas when it's just pure enjoyment, that can kind of wane for a minute. And you, like boredom strikes, so you see a new game, and if you're not like, oh, I want to know how it ends, it's easy to wander off. But then I'd always wander back. I'd always wander right back to you, Zelda baby. And I finally finished it. I put like 130 hours into Breath of the Wild, which is a considerable amount. But man, I had a ton of fun just like like climbing up a mountain and like shield surfing down. Like it was a blast, man. Every time I turned a corner in that game, just pure joy. And that's, you know, that's what Nintendo's so good at, right? Like this weekend we saw my fiance and I with some friends went and saw the Super Mario Brothers movie. We had some friends over beforehand, kind of made like a Mario day, played some Mario Party, played a little Mario Kart 8, had a good time. Movie was fun. I mean, it's a Super Mario Brothers movie. It's not like, it's not going to like blow your mind with like the story, but it was like a cute little fun movie, funny. The music was my favorite part because it's like obviously all these very famous, memorable, like Mario movie or Mario music in the movie, but just like remixed, right? Like you have like a film composer like kind of scoring and adjusting and adapting the themes you're used to from games into the movie, which was like a really fantastic touch. You could tell there were so many little like callbacks. Like there's like, you walk by a sign, it's like Punch Out Pizza, like obviously a callback to the original like Punch Out, things like that. There were nice little touches, right? I really dug seeing that. But yeah, just just a fun Mario movie, like nothing too crazy, but like this thing's on its way to 1 billion, and this is going to open the floodgates for a ton of video game IP getting adapted. But I think honestly, people are saying like, oh, this is it, this is the floodgates. I think the floodgates had already arrived. You see things like Halo on Paramount. You see the fact that Sony is turning every IP they possibly can into some sort of like film or show, right? God of War on Amazon. I mean, they're doing a Twisted Metal show. Like, the floodgates have been opened, right? I think Grounded is in development for a show from Xbox. Like, the floodgates are open. They're making everything already, but Mario just shows that like there's a reason they're doing it. It's because it makes a lot of money. Mario is obviously like pretty much like a worldwide recognized icon. Like he's huge. Smart choice from them. Obviously, there's gonna be more to come, and there was more already in the pipeline. Trying to think if there's anything else I want to touch on. I think we kind of really covered it all. Oh, you know what? No, we did not. We didn't. There's one other thing that, oh yes, that bothered me. Hang on. Oh man. Okay. Real fast, we're going to cut over here. Okay, let me get this. Let's figure this out. Can I make this work? All right, we're just jumping over here. You guys don't need to see how the sausage is made. All right, here we go. Just wanted to bring this up. Microsoft's Sarah Bond did a feature for Rolling Stone UK. Just kind of talking about Xbox and where it's at, and that's all fine. Nothing against Xbox or Sarah Bond. Obviously, I think, my personal opinion, it seems like they are. Sarah Bond has obviously become very much of a spokesperson for them. There's a lot of grooming where you wonder if she's not getting kind of built up for like kind of, obviously she's going to be a very important part of Xbox for years to come, but maybe it's like she's kind of get groomed for that top spot. It's like Phil Spencer's protege, perhaps. I don't know if that's the word, but I just wanted to roll this out because she kind of talks for a little bit, and then we get to this point. Okay. Game Pass is an option for developers. One thing that we talk a lot about internally, but I've been striving to share more externally, is the business model associated with the game has an endemic link to the nature of the gameplay. We invest a lot of time in how we introduce more business model diversity, how we create more options. We talk a lot about Game Pass because subscription is the latest option that we scaled. You have pay to play, then there was free to play, and then we introduced Game Pass. And then this is the real part. We've talked about how we're experimenting with other models. Like, what does it mean for advertising in games, which is more prevalent in mobile? Are there models of that work well in PC and console? Are there mobile game style ad models that work well in PC and console? No, there are not. Please. And the truth is, yeah, probably you can shove that in, and people are used to it on mobile. And so if they moved over, if they play a lot of mobile, they'll put up with it, but that would suck so much. If that's what Game Pass leads to, I don't want it. I don't know. I don't want it. Like, seriously, if Game Pass is going to be all ad driven and I gotta, oh, you want to play level 2? Pay us $1 or watch this 30-second ad. Don't do that to me, please. What does it mean for advertising in games, which is more prevalent in mobile? Are there other models where you might have timed slices of games and stuff like that? Talking about mobile style advertising and then talking about timed slices of games, I don't know. Providing creators with options and choices enables them to experiment and do what they like. Yeah, I mean, I agree, right? That's where I think that is the beauty of Game Pass, what it can lead to, right? Is it can lead to some of these smaller indies getting eyes on them, getting a lot of users, but it's a double-edged sword in that, yes, Game Pass can allow for a lot of creative experimentation, but it can also allow for a lot of monetary experimentation, right? Like, oh, can we make money off ad revenues? Can we charge them like by the minute? Can we charge them for like, because it could be cool. It could be really cool to see like an action game do almost like a Telltale game style, like episodic release. That could be interesting to see from, where like once a month, tune in, there's going to be like 3 or 4 or 5 hours of gameplay from like this sort of ongoing saga. And then maybe at the end, you release like the full version, right? For $60, $70, whatever, right? That could be a cool way of like testing something out, a little experimental. But if it's going to be, let's experiment with like how much money we can like charge them or how many ads can we make them watch? That sucks. That sucks. So I hope that's not the case. Yeah, I don't know. Like we'll find out, I guess, right? Like, I don't know. I read that and I just couldn't believe they put that she said that. Because listen, they don't just say, she's not talking off the cuff. That wasn't an oopsie. She's planting that seed of like, hey, we're probably going to look at like the way they do mobile ads. Mobile advertising in your PC and console games. Getting peanut butter on my chocolate. I don't know, man. That really bummed me out because they're planting that seed. That's the plan, right? The plan is to start trying to find a way, see if there's a way. Because look, if they were really just spitballing, we've talked a lot internally about it. Like we've talked about how we're looking at this. Are there models of that? Are there models of that work well in PC and console? She wouldn't be telling Rolling Stone UK, who's going to put it in print for the world to read. She wouldn't be saying that if Xbox wasn't like, yeah, there are models, and we want to plant that seed, let it grow, see what people think. This is like when Phil Spencer was like, oh, we probably can't hold the price this low forever. And then just a few months later, like, hey, we're going to $70, y'all. They're just planning it, and then it's coming. It's coming. Advertising in Game Pass. And I think kind of sucks. Because, like, look, mobile is a bigger share. Mobile has a far bigger share than consoles. I guess, console, PC combined, mobile still wins. So the opportunities for the mobile business model to bleed over into more traditional console PC gaming is there, which is why I think it's important that PC and console games bleeds over into mobile as these two merge, right? Because as we move into the future, society is going to become more screen agnostic when it comes to game playing. That's what things like Game Pass, things like Amazon's Luna, the remote play on your PS5, the remote play on Steam, all these like cloud-based handhelds, all of that is moving towards screen agnosticism, where you'll pay for a platform or a specific title or a subscription service, and you'll play wherever you want. And in that world, what is a console game? What is a mobile game? I don't know. But one of the business models is going to win, right? And I don't even really care. It's not even so much about the business model winning. That's not what I mean to say. It's not so much about... It's about what is the experience that wins. What type of game gets made and what is the cost to the consumer, right? Because we're customers. This is a transactional relationship with these video game companies. What kind of games are we going to get and how much is it going to cost, right? Because I don't know, you can't tell me it wouldn't damper you if like Final Fantasy 16, every 15 minutes you had to watch a 30-second ad or pay them like, pay $1, right? Or fucking, give your data to Microsoft Rewards or something, right? Like that would suck. And so it's a bummer if that's where they're going with it. I'd much rather just pay full price for my games. But yeah, I don't know, that article really kind of bothered me when I read it, because like what is that about? Anyway, I'm rambling now at this point, and this is our longest episode. Even when I edit out some of the mistakes, this is going to be a long one. It was full of technical difficulties. But if... Oh, I do have one viewer. I got to learn to look over here and see the viewers. Thank you, one viewer. You've increased the view count of this show by 100%. But for those of you who do watch this on VOD, I know there are a few of you. I really appreciate it. We're going to keep going every week at Sundays at 6 p.m. Central, where you can join me, press pause, and we'll go over the news of the last week and see what's new in video game land. But until next week, I'm out. Enjoy your games.